The evening air was thick with the scent of roasted chicken and freshly baked bread. The kind of warmth that made family dinners feel comforting. Until it didn't. Emily smiled politely as she poured herself a glass of sparkling water. Trying to ignore the sharp glint in her mother-in-law, Margaret's eyes, something felt off tonight, though she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Margaret's voice was sweet, almost honeyed, but there was a cold edge in the way she insisted Emily sit in a particular seat, her hand brushing deliberately against the glass on the table. Emily's heart pounded. She had heard the stories, the rumors whispered behind closed doors. Margaret wasn't a woman to be trusted, and tonight, with all the extended family gathered, something told Emily that Margaret had a plan. The laughter, the clinking of silverware, the gentle hum of conversation, everything seemed staged, orchestrated to distract her while Margaret moved with calculated precision. Emily's mind raced as she watched her husband, Daniel, laughing at one of Margaret's jokes. Completely unaware of the storm brewing in his own home, she caught the faintest shimmer in Margaret's hand as it hovered near Emily's glass. Panic bubbled up, but she forced a calm smile, pretending to be engrossed in the conversation, her fingers lightly grazing the rim of her drink. A flash of intuition struck. Margaret was trying to make her drink sedative, something that would make her sick or embarrass her in front of the family. Emily's chest tightened, but a spark of determination lit within her. She couldn't let Margaret win. Not tonight. Not here. Her gaze flicked to Daniel's untouched glass of wine, deep red, shimmering under the chandelier. A risky plan formed in her mind. With a casual laugh, she leaned slightly and switched her glass with Daniel's. Feeling the weight of the decision in her chest, every eye was on them, every smile a potential mask hiding suspicion. Emily had no proof yet, only instinct. But sometimes, instinct was all a person had to survive a storm like this. Margaret's smile didn't falter. But Emily felt the shift in energy like the calm before a lightning strike. Every bite of food, every clink of silverware, seemed louder now, sharper, as though the room itself was holding its breath. Emily's pulse raced. The first move had been made, and the next few minutes could determine everything. Would she get through dinner without Margaret's plan succeeding? Or had she already stepped into a trap she couldn't escape? As the family chatted and laughed, oblivious to the silent battle unfolding at the table, Emily held her head high, hiding her fear behind practiced composure. The evening had begun as a simple family gathering, but now, it had become a test of wit, courage, and survival, and Emily knew she couldn't afford a single misstep. Not tonight. The chatter around the table grew louder, the clinking of silverware echoing like distant thunder in Emily's ears. Every laugh felt sharper, every toast a subtle challenge. She watched Margaret closely, noticing the almost imperceptible twitch at the corner of her mouth, a signal of satisfaction or anticipation. Emily's stomach twisted with unease, but she forced herself to breathe, steadying her nerves. She couldn't afford to panic now. Daniel raised his glass for a toast, his smile bright, unaware of the tension simmering just beneath the surface. To family, love, and happiness, he said, his voice warm and genuine. Emily mirrored his smile, lifting her glass in perfect harmony. Her hand trembled slightly as she sipped, careful not to betray the gravity of the situation. Margaret's eyes narrowed subtly, scanning Emily's face as though searching for a crack in her composure. Emily felt the weight of every second, every heartbeat, pressing down like a physical force. She reminded herself that she had switched the drinks for a reason. Her instincts hadn't failed her yet. But what if Margaret anticipated this move? What if there was a backup plan she hadn't seen? As the dinner progressed, Emily noticed subtle changes in the room. The silver candlesticks glinted unnaturally under the chandelier light, shadows dancing across the walls like silent observers. Margaret's hand hovered near her own wineglass, now fingers lightly brushing the rim, as if she were rehearsing her next move. Emily's pulse quickened, and she knew she had to act cautiously. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could she confront Margaret directly, risking exposure in front of the entire family? Or should she wait for the perfect moment, letting the plan unfold naturally? Emily chose patience, keeping her eyes calm, her posture graceful, her smile unwavering. Every sip she took was measured, deliberate. A small act of defiance against Margaret's scheme. Suddenly, a loud crash startled the room. The family turned toward the source. One of the children had knocked over a candle, the flame flickering dangerously close to the tablecloth. Gasps filled the air, and Emily saw her chance. With a subtle gesture, she guided the chaos, ensuring Margaret's attention was momentarily diverted. It was a small victory, but enough to give her a sliver of control. Daniel leaned over to whisper something to her. His words, low, almost inaudible over the commotion. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern etched across his face. Emily's lips curved into a reassuring smile, though her heart still pounded. "Just a little accident," she replied softly, keeping her tone light. Hiding the storm that raged inside her, Margaret's gaze returned to Emily after the distraction. Sharper, colder, as though she sensed that something had shifted. Emily met her eyes directly, refusing to look away. A silent battle waged in that moment, one of wills and cunning. Emily's determination was unwavering, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of hope. She had survived the first wave, but the war wasn't over yet. As dessert was served, Emily noticed a faint smirk on Margaret's face. She knew the next move would be critical. Every bite of cake, every sip of coffee was a test, a calculated measure of patience and courage. Emily realized that tonight wasn't just about avoiding harm, it was about asserting her presence, showing that she wouldn't be manipulated or humiliated. Her mind wandered briefly to the countless warnings from friends, the hushed whispers of family members who had noticed Margaret's controlling tendencies. Emily had always relied on her instincts, and tonight, those instincts were her shield. She was determined not to let fear dictate her actions. The evening wore on, each moment stretching into a tense dance of observation and subtle maneuvering. Emily maintained her composure, careful not to betray any sign of weakness. Every laugh she offered, every word she spoke, was calculated, measured, and deliberate. She was no longer a passive participant in this dinner, she was an active player, and the outcome depended on her sharpness and courage. By the time the coffee cups were cleared, Emily felt a cautious sense of victory. She had survived the first stage of Margaret's scheme without incident, but she knew the most critical moment was yet to come, the revelation, the point at which the truth would out, and Margaret's plan would either succeed or crumble. Emily's hands were steady now, her resolve firm. She had navigated the dangerous waters of manipulation and deceit with grace and intelligence. The final act was approaching, and she would face it head-on, confident that her foresight, courage, and quick thinking had prepared her for whatever came next. The room buzzed with conversation. Unaware of the silent storm that had passed through the family dinner, Emily glanced at Daniel, grateful for his presence, his trust, and his unwitting support in the plan she had set in motion. She knew that soon, everything would change, and when it did, it would be on her terms. The night had grown quiet outside, the soft glow of streetlights casting long shadows across the windows. Inside, Emily's mind raced as she carefully navigated the tense atmosphere at the dinner table. Margaret, oblivious to the switch Emily had made, continued her subtle probing, attempting to measure reactions, testing the waters for her scheme. Emily's pulse quickened, but she remained calm. Hiding the storm behind a serene smile, Daniel reached for his coffee. Sipping slowly, and Emily's eyes followed every movement, ensuring the swapped drinks stayed unnoticed. The hum of polite conversation filled the air, but beneath it, a silent battle raged. Battle of cunning, wit, and timing. Emily had anticipated Margaret's manipulation, and now it was a matter of execution. Every word she spoke, every gesture she made, was calculated to maintain the facade while allowing the truth to reveal itself at the perfect moment. Margaret leaned closer to Daniel, her voice low, smooth, and laden with insinuation. "Are you sure Emily's fine with everything tonight?" she asked, her tone feigning concern while dripping with subtle malice. Emily met her gaze directly, holding her eyes with quiet defiance. "I'm perfectly fine," she said calmly, letting her voice carry a note of confidence that masked the tension she felt inside. The room seemed to hold its breath. As Margaret's smirk faltered slightly, a flicker of uncertainty passing over her face. Emily's heart thudded in her chest, a mixture of relief and anticipation. She knew the next few moments would be decisive. The switch she had made, the one carefully executed with Daniel, would determine whether Margaret's plan succeeded or failed spectacularly. As Margaret returned to her seat, Emily caught Daniel's eye. His subtle nod gave her courage. He had trusted her, followed her silent guidance, and now he was a part of the unfolding plan. Emily felt a surge of determination. This was more than protecting herself. It was about justice, about revealing truth without chaos, and about ensuring that manipulation could not triumph. Margaret, unaware, raised her glass for another toast, eyes glinting with expectation. To family unity, she said smoothly, but there was a sharp edge beneath the civility. A hidden challenge aimed at Emily. Emily lifted her glass, her movements deliberate, graceful, and composed. When she took a sip, she let just the smallest hint of irony linger in her smile. She knew the next moment would be unforgettable. A few minutes passed, each one stretching with unbearable tension. Emily noticed subtle shifts in the room, how Margaret's gaze darted nervously, how the clink of cutlery seemed louder, how the air itself felt charged with suspense. Emily's mind raced with possibilities, calculating each potential reaction, preparing for every eventuality. Her heart remained steady. She had planned this meticulously, and now the time had come to let it unfold. Daniel cleared his throat, drawing the attention of everyone at the table. "There's something I need to share," he said, his voice calm but firm, carrying the weight of significance. Margaret's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of alarm crossing her face. Emily remained composed. Knowing this was the moment she had orchestrated, every step leading up to this revelation had been precise, intentional, and purposeful. Daniel's hand rested lightly on Emily's, signaling her role in the revelation. "Tonight," he continued, "we realized how important trust and honesty are in a family, and we wanted to show that respect and care matter more than appearances or manipulations." The words hung in the air, a quiet prelude to the dramatic twist that would soon unfold. Margaret shifted uncomfortably, her composed mask cracking as she sensed that her plan was unraveling. Emily's smile remained serene, confident in the knowledge that the truth was about to surface. She allowed a soft exhale, a subtle signal that everything was proceeding according to plan. Daniel's eyes flicked to Margaret, steady and unwavering. "Emily and I decided to test something tonight," he said, voice calm yet commanding. "We wanted to see who truly respected kindness, honesty, and integrity. And, Margaret," his pause was deliberate, drawing every eye in the room to the silent tension, "you underestimated us." The room went still. Margaret's lips parted in shock, eyes wide, as the significance of Daniel's words sank in. Emily's subtle smile grew, just enough to convey triumph without gloating. She had anticipated this moment, prepared for it, and now she could finally witness the unraveling of Margaret's manipulative game. With a measured motion, Daniel raised the glass he had been drinking from, carefully swapped by Emily, and continued, "Tonight, the truth comes out. And it's not about appearances or control, it's about respect, care, and genuine love." He looked directly at Margaret, whose composure had now fully cracked. The room felt heavier, each family member sensing the dramatic shift in dynamics. Emily felt a quiet satisfaction, a mixture of relief and triumph. The tension that had held her in its grip for hours began to ease. Margaret, now visibly flustered and cornered, could only watch as her carefully constructed scheme fell apart, powerless to reverse the momentum Emily had set in motion. The children, unaware of the intricacies of the adults' silent battle, continued to chatter innocently, adding a surreal contrast to the high-stakes drama unfolding at the dinner table. Emily's gaze softened as she glanced at them, realizing that her actions not only protected her, but also preserved the integrity of the family's future. Margaret, finally gathering herself, attempted a weak smile, but it failed to mask the tension. Emily remained poised, composed, her eyes conveying quiet triumph and reassurance. Every calculated move, every careful decision, had led to this moment, a culmination of patience, courage, and unwavering determination. As the dinner came to a close, Emily realized that the night had transformed. What had begun as a potentially devastating evening, rife with manipulation and deceit, now held a sense of justice and resolution. Emily's actions had revealed character, discerned loyalty, and restored balance in a family moment that could have been tainted forever. She exchanged a glance with Daniel, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, shared understanding that their plan had worked flawlessly. The air, once thick with tension, now carried a quiet satisfaction. Emily knew that the most critical moment, the revelation of truth, the confrontation of deceit, and the assertion of integrity had been executed with precision. Emily's heart swelled with a mixture of triumph and relief. She had faced manipulation, deception, and potential humiliation. Yet she had emerged with dignity intact, truth revealed, and respect restored. This night, forever etched in memory, would serve as a testament to courage, intelligence, and the quiet power of strategy in the face of adversity. The night had settled into a quiet rhythm after the dramatic confrontation at the dinner table. The tension that had gripped the room for hours began to ease, leaving a lingering sense of relief and victory. Emily sat back slightly, taking in the scene around her. Daniel's reassuring presence at her side reminded her that they had faced a storm together and had come out stronger. Margaret sat across from them, her earlier confidence replaced with a nervous, hollow composure. The subtle traces of panic in her eyes were unmistakable as she realized the full extent of her failed scheme. Every manipulative word, every calculated gesture she had used to unsettle Emily, now felt futile in the wake of truth and strategy. Emily felt no desire to gloat. The victory was quiet, steady, and just. The rest of the family, still catching their breath from the unfolding events, exchanged looks of surprise, awe, and relief. The children, blissfully unaware of the intricate battle of wits that had taken place, continued to chatter innocently. Their laughter, a gentle reminder of what truly mattered: love, care, and integrity. Emily's gaze softened as she watched them, recognizing that her careful planning had protected not just herself, but the harmony and future of her family. Daniel reached out and took Emily's hand, squeezing it lightly. "You handled everything perfectly," he said softly. His voice carried pride, admiration, and affection, all wrapped into one reassuring statement. Emily smiled, the tension finally giving way to a serene sense of accomplishment. "We handled it together," she replied, her eyes reflecting gratitude and quiet triumph. Margaret finally spoke, her tone tentative, tinged with bitterness and shame. I never expected this," she murmured, her composure fraying further. Emily met her gaze calmly, letting the weight of silence speak louder than words. "It's not about expecting anything," Emily said evenly. "It's about honesty, respect, and doing the right thing. Those are the rules that matter." Her calmness contrasted sharply with Margaret's agitation, amplifying the lesson the evening had delivered so dramatically. Margaret's shoulders slumped, an unspoken acknowledgement of defeat passing between them. The room, once thick with tension, now felt lighter, infused with a newfound sense of order and justice. Emily knew the moment had passed where vindictiveness could take root. What remained was clarity, resolution, and an affirmation of integrity. The conversation shifted, the edge of confrontation replaced by polite, reflective exchanges. Emily guided the discussion toward lighter topics, steering the family back to normalcy while preserving the dignity of the moment. Laughter returned, tentative at first, then fuller, as the oppressive weight of Margaret's manipulations finally lifted. Daniel, sensing the shift, proposed a toast, not a toast of victory over someone else, but a toast celebrating family, honesty, and the resilience of character. "To truth, respect, and standing by each other," he said, lifting his glass. Emily raised hers alongside him, smiling at the symbolic gesture. The clink of glasses echoed softly, sealing the evening's lessons in a tangible, heartfelt moment. Later, as the family began to clear the table, Emily took a quiet moment to reflect. The ordeal had tested her patience, intelligence, and courage in ways she hadn't anticipated. Yet, through strategy, composure, and unwavering adherence to her principles. She had navigated a path through deception and emerged with dignity intact. This was more than a personal victory, was a demonstration of the quiet power of wisdom, timing, and moral fortitude. Margaret, now left alone for a brief moment, glanced around, her expression a mixture of shame and grudging respect. Emily knew that while some wounds of pride could heal over time, the lesson had been learned, and it would resonate in ways beyond the immediate night. Justice, subtle yet firm, had been delivered without chaos, vengeance, or humiliation. As the evening drew to a close, Daniel and Emily stepped out onto the porch, breathing in the cool night air. Stars twinkled above their quiet, distant brilliance, mirroring the calm after the storm of emotions within the house. Daniel turned to Emily, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "You've not only protected yourself, but you've reminded everyone what truly matters," he said, his voice soft yet filled with awe. Emily nodded, feeling a profound sense of closure. The night had tested her in every imaginable way, but it had also affirmed her values, her intelligence, and her courage. "It's not about proving anything to her," she said quietly. "It's about showing ourselves and everyone else that integrity and respect always shine through." No matter how dark the scheme, the family slowly gathered, the children's sleepy but happy chatter filling the night air. Emily observed them, heart swelling with affection and hope. She had seen firsthand how subtle courage and strategic thinking could transform a tense, potentially harmful situation into a lesson in character and love. As they walked back inside, Emily allowed herself a small, contented smile. The ordeal with Margaret had ended not with vindictiveness, but with quiet dignity and the reaffirmation of core values. The evening had proven that manipulation and deceit, no matter how carefully plotted, could not prevail against honesty, wisdom, and moral courage. Later that night, as Emily lay in bed, she reflected on the lessons of the evening. The subtle power of patience, observation, and composure had triumphed. She realized that life often presented moments where character and integrity were tested, and how one responded in those moments defined not just personal strength, but the legacy of respect and honor within a family. The moral was clear. True strength was not in confrontation or retaliation, but in quiet confidence, strategic thinking, and unwavering adherence to one's principles. Emily had faced deceit and emerged victorious not through force, but through wisdom, courage, and calm determination. The night closed around her with a sense of peace and completion. Emily knew that the day's events would be remembered not as a tale of conflict, but as a story of resilience, integrity, and the enduring power of doing what is right. The family, now more united and aware than ever, could move forward with a renewed sense of trust, respect, and love, lessons that would echo far beyond that one unforgettable dinner as sleep finally claimed her. Emily's last thought was a quiet affirmation. Truth, respect, and integrity are never forgotten, and the quiet strength of doing what's right always prevails.